Hello.
Gert, how's it?
I'm well, and how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. No complaints. It's all
That's
all good.
good.
All good, yeah. And yourself?
No, I'm well, thank you.
Oh,
I'm
good.
well.
I started gym this week, so it's been a bit of an experience. Haven't been in a long time,
Why
so
only now?
circumstance, I suppose. So it's been a while. I started a eating program last year. So I've been on it for 12 weeks now, so that's going well. So I'm into that, and so this is like just the next logical step, eating well, now we train well, and we'll be well. So, yeah, that's why. Uh, but
That's good.
it is all good. It is all
Since
good.
since 3 October 2016, I've only missed 2 months not going to the gym because of illness. 5 o'clock every morning, I'm hitting the gym.
Yeah,
Winter, summer, doesn't matter.
I'm really pleased to be going back because as much like you say, it's like this first bit's cuck. When you get past that, then you get very grumpy if you don't go. So I know, yeah,
So,
I'm very excited to be back. I have to be honest. It's been a long time.
so how I managed to get it right to get me where I am now was I just made a commitment to myself to say I'm going to the gym. Yeah, I'm first going to do something physical every day, doesn't matter what. And then that's my first commitment. And then it went over, so let me go to the gym. So even at that stage, in the beginning, I don't feel like it. Let me go to the gym, and I sat and have a coffee at Hawaii or whatever. I said, but listen, I'm sitting here, I don't feel like it, but let me just go walk on the treadmill. And then I said to myself, okay, now it's like, okay, let me commit to one class session. And so I'll never lift weights and I'll never spin. I'll never do it. I hate it. I'll just fuck around here. So, but I made a commitment to do something
Yeah.
once a day for myself in terms of that. So it's now where we actually got we are four buddies now that all toppies. So what we do on Mondays, we spin. On Tuesdays, we either do Pilates or we do legs. Okay. Wednesdays we push. Thursdays we pull. Fridays I do yoga. Saturdays we do park runs, and Sundays we do what we want. So I usually go in and do an hour on a treadmill or something like that. But
Yeah.
just casually walking, no exercise, just do an hour on a treadmill. So that's been my commitment. Even if I travel, whatever I do, that's a commitment I made to myself to say, listen, I'm going to do something for myself every day. So, and I know, hopefully it helps for you because I see we laugh at the gym because we see the spike now. And then as soon as the weather's already, the sun has already changed. So the sun used to come up at 20 past 4. Now it's about 10 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you'll see this month of February will still go well. You don't get spaces here and there. In the middle of March, people, they just knock off. They don't come. And then we see them in September again when they start wanting to make
The beach
summer
body.
body.
100%.
And,
Uh,
and, it, and it's too late then. It's too late for them to, it's too late for tears. I mean, you have to commit yourself.
yeah.
So good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Good luck. Hmm.
So, Kitimitsi, how's it?
Afternoon, James. Afternoon, everyone. I'm all right. How are you doing?
Lekker, man. And Toby Singh still having a different conversation. We'll see how she's doing in a minute. Where is everybody else?
Oh, yeah, I think Chris sent a message in our group chat. He was saying that he might not make it, and then he also said Nkata might be late because he has a meeting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All good. Toby Singh, are you with us?
Hi, I'm sorry about that. I was just having a conversation with my cousin. How are you
No,
guys doing?
no worries. We're very well. We're very well. And yourself?
I'm doing great.
Okay, good stuff.
Mm.
Are you aware of anybody else who may or may not be coming today?
No, I haven't spoken to anyone about
Okay.
anything.
Let me
All
see
right.
if I can get hold of this Guru Mogotsi. See if I can pull him by his ear. Let me
Let's
send
just
him
see. Have a look here.
Are you connecting? Good. Otherwise, I would have fired you. Okay. Bye. He'll be there.
All right, all good. Okay, well, while we wait, I know we had a little bit of a Q&A session. Gert, what I think maybe you and I should do after today is let's do like a one-on-one because you're going to be a little
Yes.
different, but from maybe today might actually not even today we'll start to make a bit more sense to you. Then everything else will sort of converge. But because you're doing something completely different, let's maybe just have a bit of a
Okay.
chat and point you in the right direction for that.
Hmm.
But
Look,
yeah,
I've paid on my ChatGPT, and I've got my target audience, you know, and I've got all that. But let me listen to you because I think my target audience is basically HR directors, CEOs, employee benefits managers, business owners, retirement fund trustees, principal officers, consultants and actuaries, independent trustees, member-elected trustees, and employer-appointed trustees. That's them, you know.
well, that's fantastic, right? That is like for the rest of you. Hope you were listening to that, even though you're zoned out because it's not your ideal client. But the specificity at the level of which he's identified them, particularly on LinkedIn, right, makes this so easy when he gets stuck into it, as you'll see just now, a little bit later on, to find those people. He's not like he knows exactly what he wants. And one of the reasons he knows exactly what he wants is because he knows exactly what he's selling, which is kind of a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. But that's how critical like all of this is. When you get to that degree, it's so easy to be focused also. So there's no wasted time or wasted effort that's going to go on. It's like, okay, that's what those are the guys we want. This is what we need to tell them. Let's just get a system to go get them. Just be consistent, and that's the whole game. So you like that level of specificity puts you in a really good spot. So that's very exciting. The rest of you should strive for that. And I appreciate Gert's got a lot. Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. I appreciate that Gert's got a lot more experience, and you guys don't, and so we're going to try to help you guys with that. But honestly, if you can get to that level of clarity, you will see later on it just makes your life infinitely easier. You know, like I know a lot of the guys that are sort of in your position, not maybe yourselves even. It's kind of like the strategy hasn't quite been formed, and so the marketing strategy, like all sorts of stuff, like anything that moves, you know, it's an event, I'll phone somebody, and it's like trying all sorts of things. When you have the sort of clarity that you've just heard, you don't have to do that because now you can reverse engineer the process. It's like, okay, that's who I want. How do I get them? Your thinking and your whole world changes dramatically. So, who's your quote unquote niche? What have you come up with? And did you have a chance to use that GPT? You're on mute.
Oh yes, I've got it. I had a chance. I think at first, so with the spreadsheet, I just found like my ideal client has lots of different characteristics.
Okay.
And then with the GPT, let me see, I just want to check. It's something like entry level corporate professionals, mostly female, age 25 to 45, who are single, who seek clarity and actionable plans for
Are you,
securing
so are you
retirement
telling
and
us you're a ladies' man? Is that what? Even ChatGPT knows this. What are you not telling us? I'm kidding. Um,
Yeah.
so question for you, jokes aside, is that accurate? Does that resonate with you? Are you feeling that you look at that and the process you went through and you think, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does because I have found success with people who what does it fit that profile? Yeah.
Okay. Is that the sort of person that you think you could target now successfully? And I'm not going to commit you for a lifetime. I want to commit you guys for 6 months. Like I want you guys to pick something and just do it. Right? This thing of we do something for 2 weeks, that shit, it doesn't make no, that's not how things work. Pick something, give it a proper commitment. Give it 6 months and really have a go. So if I said to you, we can build everything around that for 6 months, do you feel that, or are you feeling uncomfortable for any reason, or could you work with that? If that's what we did, you're
I
happy?
think I could work with that.
All right. Just read it again. Just that niche statement.
Yes. So South African entry-level corporate professionals, mostly female, age 25 to 45, single, who seek clarity and actionable plans for securing retirement and protecting loved ones.
Okay. There's obviously something that came up in however you answered the questions, because that's obviously very unique to you. The single female, is there something in that specifically?
Yes, I've helped like single females like to save for their children's education. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
All
that's
right.
the main thing that they
Okay.
want.
So there's a major success point for you. So you should latch onto that. I'm going to show you some stuff just now, which will kind of corroborate that. But okay, well done. I think that's fantastic. You are already miles ahead of where you were a week ago. Like just that one little piece of inspiration and clarity. Hopefully that's made things a little bit clearer and you're sort of starting to see the light.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well done. I think that's a great start. Okay. Tabi Singh, okay, I don't think you had the GPT, but how did you go with your exercise? Do you have any idea who your niche would
Really?
be?
Currently, it's people within the ages of, okay, they are late 30s, early 40s towards 50. Mostly people who are trying to save for retirement and they don't really have risk products. And also I've noticed that most of them don't have wills. So, and with the clients, because I literally looked at the clients that I've been servicing from the last 6 months. So the older ones, remember, as we start, we just take anyone and everyone. So I just took the ones that I've worked with the past couple of months, and it's the people age group is between the ages of 35 and late 40s, and mostly it's retirement planning and also risk products, because I see a lot of them are underinsured and also with regards to will drafting. So it's something that I looked into, and based on that, I'm now in a process of asking for referrals from those people. Yeah. So yeah, currently that's what I'm into.
That's fantastic. Okay, again, nice and focused. I don't think we gave you the GPT. You might find that quite an interesting exercise, but notwithstanding, you've got some pretty good information there. When you look at what came up, did you have any sort of industry bias with where some industries are potentially better than others for you? Did that come up in any way in your analysis?
No, industry was not a factor on my niche.
Okay. All right. You're definitely on your way as well. We'll sort of tidy it up to today.
Oh,
Tisetso, thank you very much. Tisetso, how'd you go?
Hi, James.
How's it?
Good and so
Fantastic.
yes. So I wasn't there last week. Yesterday. I think a day before yesterday. So, but like I was listening to a recording that Virgil sent to me. So like when it comes to the niche, like what I've come across is that like as in types said, like a lot of clients are under covered when it comes to risk. So like my target mostly it's youth and also the married and people who recently got jobs and also people who have families. Like let's say like talking about families, like that's my most target and most people most of them like I'll just make a shift and say like most black people like they most of them like they don't have quite information about risk covers and all those stuff. So like those are my target people, like educating them about risk and how they're going to benefit in the long run.
When you watched the video, because I don't know
Mhm.
that I put all the other resources up there, did you have a chance to do any of the exercises?
No, like I've started watching the videos from yesterday, so I'm still on the process.
Okay. Do that. Because there's a few pieces missing, and I can obviously see that you haven't done that. So one of the things I would like you to try and do when you do, okay, just to help you a little bit with that, you had a few groups that you mentioned. As you'll see just now, that can get a little confusing. So go through it, and maybe you sort of highlighted family as something that seems to resonate with you a little bit more. But try to sort of pick one group of people. Again, so it's like,
Okay.
let's make a 6-month commitment. We're going to pick one group of people and we're really going to market and put ourselves out to get in front of that particular group of people for a month. So
This meeting is being recorded.
do that, and I think you'll find that it'll sharpen your focus quite significantly. Right.
Okay.
Okay, we'll chat again once you've had a chance to take a closer look. Thank you very much. Lucas, how'd you go?
Okay, so I work under FAIR. So our target market is similar, but I also did a separate one for the retail side because our franchise is mostly focused on employee benefits. But on the retail side, it's a South African homeowner and who has a new bond or an existing bond, family person. It's either husband or wife, married, 30 to age 50, professional. They want to reduce their bond installment, want to replace their bank credit life insurance. They want to pay off their bond quicker, mostly government employee. And the product that they mostly want is the home loan protector.
All right, interesting. Again, some clarity starting to form there. So, the question I would have for you, right, as you think about this, is it might be a little rhetorical for now, but nonetheless, when you look at that and that sort of analysis you made, is that quote unquote ideal client or ideal niche? Does that resonate with you personally? The products you're talking about selling?
For
Is
now,
it-
yes. That's why I specifically focused on that, especially the property side.
Okay, interesting. All right, good. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on today, but good. Again, some clarity, some focus, and starting to move in the right direction. So also well done there. Nkata, how's it? Well, we hope it's how's it.
How are
How
you?
you? Lekker, man,
Just
yourself.
I'm so sorry, man. When I came to see a client at the factory, so I'm still up and down. I didn't get the question when we started. I joined the meeting late.
So I'm
Uh,
just doing a little bit of a follow-up from last week. Just going through and saying to people, doing all the exercises and things. What is your ideal client or the niche that you choose? What's your ideal client look like for now?
Look, I'm very close to finishing because I'm on a free mode. But it gave me I think I'm on where it was telling me that I need to look into the clients that are in HR and also that have kids. What else? That the age between the age of it was giving me the age, but it cut me, so I had to wait for 11:45, and I had a meeting because
Okay.
today I had to do 2 sessions. Today also it wants me to do because I've depleted my stuff and I don't have that one that you can do. So I need to finish up afterwards now so that you can give me the niche and stuff. But it was giving me an idea from what I've inputted to say this is from what we analyzed. This is this, and do you want us to now continue with the niche? Or it was asking me a question. As I was about to answer, that thing came up and say I've depleted my.
You're right at the end. So as soon as you get the next allotment of tokens, you'll be able to finish. Okay, you're right at the point where you want to give you the info. So in terms of what it had given you, are you feeling comfortable with that? Like if I said to you, you need to do that,
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, you need to pick something for the next 6 months, and we're going to focus on that. Would that be it?
Yeah. Look, I'm
Okay.
more than happy to focus on that one.
All right. Okay, good
Yeah.
stuff. Finish that up. You'll see that last bit is kind of what brings it all together. All right. All
I
right,
don't know,
good.
can I, because I'm driving now, can I go through the recording maybe? Because I need to leave this place. It's not safe.
Yeah. Okay. 100%. Or
Okay.
maybe depending on how long it takes you to get to ever join us later, but there will be a recording. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Nkata. Chat you later.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers. Bye. All right, well done, guys. I think everybody's starting to get a little bit of focus. So let me just find today's stuff. Let me so see what's in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit about today. Sorry, on my other screen, I'm just getting everybody. So what we're going to talk a little about today is kind of the next piece in this formula, and we're going to look at what I like to call problems in the magic message. So the magic message is essentially the headline that we come up with on LinkedIn, right? So Pat, aside, the rest of you, you may find yourselves in this boat, and I say this because I've dealt with so many financial advisors, and in that first couple of years, what I generally tend to find is that when I'm talking to financial advisors and we're asking the sort of questions that we've been asking about niche and what sort of products and services you're going to provide, the focus tends to be on the product, right? So like you guys will talk about risk products, retirement annuities, etc., because that's kind of been the focus, right, of your training. If you think about it, when you get to Momentum, they've got to get you up to speed with the products, and so you do a lot of that, and then you start selling, and then you get more experience, and so the thing goes on. But the focus tends to be all about products. Okay, I want to try to change that. I almost want to say to you, forget about the products. Okay, I want you guys from today onwards to solve problems. Okay. When you solve problems, life gets very, very easy, right? Because if you're trying to sell a product, you have to sell it, right? To sell something is very difficult. If you solve a problem, right, somebody will buy it from you as opposed to you having to sell it because you're solving a problem. And if you can get into that space, you completely transforms your business, right? You'll find it easier to talk to people, easier to close. Everything becomes a lot easier. So let's just have a quick recap from last week. So we looked at the game plan, right, which was basically this. So we're kind of still, last week we did number 1. Today we're going to talk about number 2 and kind of what goes into that. And remember the game plan being that once we've got all of this done and we've got a great profile, we can shoot out a message, and we'll probably pick up meetings just from a connection message because of all this work that we're doing now, which will culminate next week when we put a profile that's more specific to you together. And then we'll get into the side of things where we start being consistent, and I'm going to show you how to send a lot more messages. And you'll find a second message, which we'll also go through a little bit later on, will typically get you quite a lot of meetings, right? Up to 0.5. So this is our first stage, is let's get to 2.5, so we get you guys onto the system and it's running, and then we can take it up a notch after that. You know, once things are working, we get into automation and all other things. But our first goal is get to step 5. That's the whole system, right? So that was going to be planned. Then we looked at this idea of the ideal client, right? So we looked at a little bit of the theory. You kind of did the jar of jelly beans exercise and looked at the niche. Today we're going to sort of pivot to these two over here, kind of the big problems and the pains and gains, which you'll see in just a minute when we talk about a deep dive. So that was the second thing, and then obviously you went through that exercise of looking at your clients to just see what clues have you got for where you've already been successful. This helps you to determine why. And then the goal is to say, well, how do we get more people just like the ones that we've been successful with, right? We gave you the homework to do. And then we spoke about the actual picking of a niche, right? Where we looked at all of this stuff, picking an industry, then looking at your sort of internal specialization. And a lot of this is kind of where do you have experience? That's the industry bit. And then the niche is, you know, what's your superpower? You know, as a financial advisor. We looked at some other stuff like the existing client analysis. That was the big worksheet that you did. And then your personal attribute, right? And then one of the things that we'll do in due course is we'll just say, well, are the fundamentals all in place? Well, if you guys have actually taken what has already been successful, the answer to that will automatically be yes, right? So all of that stuff will technically be in place for you. There's a bit of homework for you to do there with the niche selection questions. That was to take you out of just thinking about your or doing the analysis of what was successful before, and it was helping you to be more personalized in terms of your approach, because it's much easier to pick a niche that's very specific to you. So even though we're all going through the same program, at the end of the day, you probably all are going to be targeting different people. Why? Well, because your experience is all different. Your personalities are different. Your value systems might be different. The way you do things. And there's always going to be a niche. So remember that idea of a group of people with a similar set of characteristics. There's going to be that particular group that is going to resonate with you more than anybody else. And we're trying to make our lives as easy as possible. At every step of this process, we're trying to get ourselves to a point where we stack the deck in our favor. And so the easier we make it for ourselves, the better it is, and the more clients will sign up. Right? So that being said, that's where we've got up until now. So today we're gonna pivot. So we're gonna talk about big problems. So as I said, I want to change your mindset from a product mindset to a problem mindset. So it's kind of like, I almost want you to go out there, solve the problems, and then when you've spoken to somebody and you've solved the problem, or at least you know what the problem is, then and only then do you say, okay, what product do I have in the momentum cupboard that can solve this problem? And I promise you the solution is there, right? Momentum has a solution for all of these problems. So don't start with the thing you want to sell, right? Because it's got a higher commission, etc. Don't start there. That is very hard to do. Start with your client and just like listen to them, find out what the big issues are, and just solve those problems, right? And as you solve one problem, as you will see just now, they will develop other problems, and you will be continually solving problems for people literally for the rest of their lives. Okay, so that's the first thing we're gonna take a look at. Then we're going to step that up. Okay, so the step up for that is what I like to call client criticals, and these are things that are absolutely imperative to your clients. So there's a lot of problems that they have, but there's certain problems that move them to action more than others, right? There's certain things that they will actually get off their behinds to solve, or they will take money out of their pockets to solve. Those are the real problems that we want to find, because if we can solve those problems, making the sale becomes even easier. Right? I'll show you how to do that. And then based on that information in 1 and 2, then we're going to go and we're going to create our LinkedIn headline, right? I'm going to call it the magic message because I'm a marketer. You might call it your value proposition, right? LinkedIn calls it the headline. And this one thing here is the most important piece of text on your entire LinkedIn profile. Once we have this, everything else gets easy, right? So tough to get to this point, but once you've got here, the rest of it is just, it's not quite copy and paste, but it's kind of similar, right? Because we know what we're shooting for, and your whole profile will be built around this message. The everything we put on your profile, the messaging sequencing, how we reach out to people, everything comes down to this. So I want to talk to you about this idea of a big problem that you can solve, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a deeper dive, just to give you quite a big perspective of what is actually possible when it comes to this, right? So the problem that we have today is that attention spans have become really, really tiny. Okay, so even your LinkedIn profile, if somebody goes onto LinkedIn and they're looking at your profile, I personally believe you've probably got maybe 1 second to get that person's attention to the point where they make the assessment whether they're going to stick or twist on your profile. We actually want them to say, yes, this actually looks like an interesting profile. I think I'm going to click on it, and I'm actually going to read everything else that goes with the profile. So how do we do that, right? The best way to do that is to tackle a big problem that people have. Because if you think about it, what drives you? There's so much noise and stuff that's going on, right? So you can look at stuff and it just goes over your head. We're all exposed to so many messages. But if you are suffering with a big problem and suddenly you see something that relates to that problem, like suddenly your attention span is picked up. You remember that reticular activating system? You know, like when you buy a new car and all of a sudden every second person is driving the same car. That's the same thing. It's like people have this problem. They don't see all the stuff going on, but suddenly someone talks about the problem and now it's like, oh shit. And now guess what's happening? You're taking that problem and you're actually amplifying it. So that problem's always been there, and maybe they've sort of been ignoring it. And then suddenly you come and you hit them in the head and it's like, sure, okay, this is a problem. Now the pain comes back again, and maybe they think, you know what, today's the day. I'm solving this damn problem now. Let me make this, let me accept this connection request. Let me make this appointment. Okay. So let's talk about problems. Problems are very, very interesting. Okay. Because people always think about problems as being negative. And to be honest, for most of us, it is negative. But problems can also be positive. Right? So if you look at this little quadrant here, this little matrix that we've got on the left-hand side in blue are things that I call them pains, right? Because they're negative. However, on the orange side, on the right-hand side, things are positive, right? And different people are motivated by different things. So let's talk about this course, for example, right? So the thing that I do is I help people to build a system to generate leads and clients. Okay, so when I first started this whole process, okay, I had two very distinct groups of people. So on the left-hand side, I had the people, and I'm going to call them the desperates for the sake of this conversation. So the desperates would come to me and they would say, James, if I don't get clients soon, like in the next 3 months, I'm going to have to close my business. Okay, now think about that person. Mindset, right, is terrible. They've given me a problem. I don't have enough clients, and the implication of that problem is dire. Okay, so that problem is so big it's keeping them awake at night. So what's the solution to that problem? Well, the solution is to help them to install a client generation system that can consistently get new clients, right? That solves the problem and then make them prosperous. Okay, so that's on the left-hand side. Then a completely different group of people would come to me, and I'm going to call them the progressives. So the progressives, if they didn't work with me, their lives would not end, right? But they have a different problem. They have a positive problem, because they would come to me and they would say, you know what, I'm trying to grow my business for whatever reason, right? I want to sell, I want to get out, I want to spend less time in it. Can be a million reasons, but I've hit this like glass ceiling and I don't quite know how to get it to the next level. Okay, well, how do we do that? Okay, well, we put a predictable client generation system in place that can help you to do that, right? Now, what you've probably noticed is that the solution is exactly the same. Okay? The solution is the client generation system. It works for the people that are about to lose their business, and it works for the people that want to scale their business. Okay, but those two people are in a very different headspace. Okay, so when I'm talking to them and I'm reaching out, if I want to reach these people, I have to give them a terrible message, right? I've got to give them a message that deals with pain, right? It's about the pain of their situation. Whereas these guys, they don't care about pain. That's not what they pain as in negative pain. They're looking for gain, right? So when I speak to them, I need to tell them how things are going to improve. Where's the gain in this thing? Because that's what they want. So if I mix my message and I get it wrong, I'm not going to get their attention. Now you'll see here this line here, this horizontal line. On the left-hand side, it talks about moving away from pain. And the right-hand side is moving towards pleasure. Now, intuitively, you all know this. The gurus have been telling us this for years, but it's true, right? It's true. People will do more to avoid pain, so they move towards the left-hand side, than they will to gain pleasure. So, for example, someone will do more to protect 10,000 Rand, right, than they will to make 100,000 or 1,000,000 Rand. Weird, I know. But like that's how we write. So bad news sells. We see this all the time, right? That's why watch the news. You know, that'll tell you everything you need to know. How many good news stories are there? Like 1 or 2 maybe a day. Everything else is just pain, 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 negative, negative. The world is descending, right? Because that's what drives people. So 90% of people are driven by this. Okay, maybe 5 to 10% are driven by this. So it's quite an interesting perspective. So the first question you should be asking yourself is, are people driven by positive or negative? But what I want you to realize is that if I'm asking you to solve a problem, right? So again, we're making the mind shift. We're not selling products anymore. We're solving problems, right? So is the problem I'm solving a negative problem or a positive problem? So remember, you identified a niche of people, right? That's where we started. So now ask yourself, at the moment it's a rhetorical question, but ask yourselves, okay, everybody gave me a definition of a niche a bit earlier, an ideal client. Would that particular group of people respond better to pain points or to gain points? So the people, right now, as I said, 90% tend to be here. The people that tend to be here, there's two categories when it comes to us as financial advisors, right? The first category are what I call entrepreneurs. Now, an entrepreneur is not necessarily someone that runs their own business, just for clarity and context, right? An entrepreneur is somebody that looks before they leap. This is the person that asks for forgiveness, not permission, right? They just do stuff and then like they assess later. If it doesn't work, they dust themselves off and say, okay, well, I've just found another way that it doesn't work, and they try again, right? That type of mindset, talking about that type of entrepreneur, that type of person is very highly driven. Okay, so I'd like to let's call them ambitious people, right? Ambitious people want stuff rather than to get away from pain, because their mindset is a mindset of building. But there's also a second group of people, right? For you guys as financial advisors, and again, that group of people are what I like to call, let's just call them professional employees, for want of a better description, right? They're professional employees because instead of building their own business, they have made the decision that they are going to work for somebody else. But That doesn't mean that they don't want to make a lot of money. That doesn't mean they don't have aspirations. A lot of those people have got very high paying jobs, and a lot of them worked very hard to get those high paying jobs. And they look at that over a lifetime, right? And they know that they're going to make a lot of money. So just because you're working does not take you out of this category. But if you are ambitious, right, and you're prepared to do what it takes, then you are on this side. Then you speak to them positively. If not, you talk to them negatively, right? So let's talk retirement, right? So a negative retirement message is if you don't start saving for retirement now, you will live in Zozo in your kid's garden when you retire, if you are lucky, right? That's a negative message. A positive message might be, hey, if we put a good plan in place for you now, you can retire 5 to 10 years earlier than anybody else and pretty much do anything that you want. So do you see it's the same message, right? Still sell you an RA, right? And I'll do some estate planning, etc., etc. It's the same solution, but one we spoke negatively and the other one was positively. Okay, so always think about that. The problem can be positive or it can be negative. And to be honest with you, in marketing, sometimes we do both, but we tend to focus on one or the other. So let me continue my story here. When I started, I told you I had 50%, like a 50-50 split, right? So I naturally thought that these guys on the left, the desperates, I thought that they would be the best students. I thought that they would try the hardest. I thought, no, it's a slam dunk. They'll be successful. Completely wrong. I was completely wrong with that. Why was I wrong? Well, because I think what happened was that they started off well. Okay, they started with great intention. They worked hard. But then you get to that time of the month where cash flow is now an issue, right? Now they got to chase cash flow. And we've probably all been there. You know, when you're chasing cash flow, everything else takes a backseat, like you hunt the cash. And so now they're hunting cash because they need to live, they need to eat. Then you've got a landlord that's nagging them. And so they fall off the bus and then they never finish, right? This is a great problem for me because them not finishing, I started to feel, was I actually doing more harm than good, right? Because they were giving me money. I was giving them the value. They started, they had everything there. They just had to finish and they didn't. So now they've wasted money that was hard for them to come up with in the first place and they still didn't get a result. So personally, I just made a decision. I'm not going to deal with them anymore. Not because I don't want to help them, but because maybe I'm doing damage. So I made a very conscious decision. I'm not going to deal with them. These guys, on the other hand, very different, right? So in my normal coaching program, when I'm doing one-on-one stuff, like I normally coach people for an hour. But what happened was I kept running out of time at the end because these guys would do crazy homework. And then we'd start to talk about the homework. And then I'd get to a point where I felt, geez, if I don't give them an extra few minutes, then I'm not giving them the value, right? These guys are hyperachievers. That's why they're ambitious, a different group of people. And so I decided I wasn't going to deal with these guys anymore. And I wanted to deal exclusively with these guys. The effect of that, okay, was that I changed everything that I did. I changed the way I position things. I changed my messaging. And now what happens is I resonate with 90% of these people and 10% of these guys, right? And when it comes time to set meetings, I don't take the meetings with these guys because no point. Does that mean I don't help them? No, I actually give them other things. I give them copies of my books, videos, I point them in the right direction. But I can't take money from them and I can't give them my time because there's no return for either of us in that space. These guys, on the other hand, with a positive message, they resonate with it because it makes sense to them. It's a much smaller group of people, right? But there's still more than enough of them to build a business on. This is the message I'm trying to get across to you with the niching. You don't have to worry about it, right? So not only have I taken this niche of mine, of accounts and financial advisors, I've shrunk it to a tiny piece, to 5% of them. Can you see? But it still works for me. All right, so that's enough about pains and gains. Just get that. Let that just sink in. It's an amazingly powerful concept, right? The other thing that happens, let's talk about this vertical axis. People tend to respond to things that are going on in their lives right now. Okay, So in order to get their attention, like there's something that's irritating them or that's niggling at them. That's what's going on right now. But what's quite interesting is when they decide to actually buy the solution to that problem, they don't make it from this perspective, right? They make it from a much deeper perspective. And the ad goes all the way down here. And this is oftentimes a perspective into the future. And the reason I say that is because let's say somebody is knows they need to plan for retirement, okay? And they haven't done it, and they haven't done it, and they haven't done it, and they haven't done it. And the months go by, the years go by. Their child is 2 years old already. The wife is starting to nag them. It's like, yes, right. And then eventually it gets to a point where they're starting to think to themselves, shit, if I don't do it now, I'm in trouble. I'll never get it done. And then now consequence starts to play on their minds, right? And this is where they get into the future. Geez, if I screw this up, you know what, we might lose our house. I won't be able to pay for the kid education. My wife will leave me, right? This is the sort of nonsense we talk to ourselves. Now, this may never happen, but this is good for us. And the reason it's good for us, okay, here's a very important lesson. Write this down somewhere, all of you. People buy on emotion. They just justify with logic. We always try to sell the logical reason. Oh, you must have retirement funding because of this, this, and this. You must or you should take out income protection because blah, 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 right? So we're all trying to sell up here. That's hard, right? People do not buy on logic, believe it or not, as much as we would love them to. No, they buy on emotion. Dude, if something happens to you, right, and you lose your ability to practice, how are you going to get it back? What the fuck else are you going to do? That's the only thing you qualified for. It makes you a lot of money. Imagine you, even if you're off for 6 months, lose your house. Are you nuts? Now they're thinking, oh, sure. Now there's consequence, right? Your emotion. Now, oh, I don't want to do that. Now they're going to buy because you're showing them actual proper fear and frustration. And now they're starting to live it. Now suddenly, you know, this, even though before you started speaking to them, maybe they didn't even know about income protection. But now they understand, and now the emotional side is going to take over. So they're going to buy that because, like, they don't want to potentially be in a disastrous situation, right? Also, when it comes time to finances are a bit tight this month, what am I going to cut? Well, it's not going to be that, right? Because they have a very good reason to keep it. Whereas if they didn't have a good reason, yeah, all right, I'll cancel the policy. Got other things to do. Right. So this stuff becomes really important for you, right? So just bear that in mind. Not only are we solving problems, but when we talk to people, we want to do it at an emotional level so that we make the effect of that problem big and bright and ugly and horrible so that it hurts them. Because as tough as that sounds, and you have to do this for the right reason, right? We want to hurt them to help them because people sit in their comfort zone. If the pain, right, of changing, getting the solution, in other words, is bigger than the pain of wherever they are at the moment, sitting in that inertia of the problem, then they don't do it. So we sometimes have to kick them in the behind to say, listen, dude, do it now because of this. And oftentimes that's the best thing that we can do, right? Financial advisors perform an exceptionally important role in people's lives. And many times it's up to us to give them a push. So that's the basis of this, right? It's very powerful what I just told you. Let it sink in. And now that you kind of understand that, let's dive into some very specific stuff. Okay. So what I've found over the years is when we talk to people, there's really only 6 major questions that you need to ask. If you can answer those questions, then you're in a very, very good space. So let's have a look at them. So the first lot of questions, there's 3 of them. I put under frustration. Okay, so what is a frustration? A frustration is like the dripping tap. You know, that thing that just is there, that irritates you, it nags at you, it's there. But it's not like in and of itself, it's not gonna like get you to go and sort the damn problem out, but it's there. But eventually it will get you to sort it out, right? So my favorite frustration story, which I'm not very proud of, but I'll tell it to you anyway. because it's quite funny. I'm going back, probably 2009, 2010. This was early on when load shedding started. Remember those days. So when load shedding started, we also didn't have fiber, by the way. So that was the day of the ADSL modem. So the line was a little bit iffy and it would drop and like the lines would break and they have to come fix it. So my three favorite people in the whole world were MWeb because they had my ADSL line, Telkom because they had the telephone line, and Eskom. Like those three people. Like I hated that group of people collectively more than anything I can tell you. Why? Because I think they had a conspiracy going. They said amongst themselves, listen, if anybody makes a phone call, nobody answers that call for 20 minutes. You make people wait at least 20 minutes and then you can answer the call, right? And I phoned those people regularly. So I still had the old telephone. You remember the one with the little wire key? That thing. And the phone I had was such a stupid phone. It had the receiver under the earpiece. So if you took the earpiece like we used to and you put it under your ear and then you click your neck, right, to hold the phone while you're typing with two hands, then the bloody thing would disconnect. I think you know where this is going, right? I think the fourth time this happened, I lost it. I lost it. You see red. I saw it. I went and I got one of those big building hammers and I moored that phone into as many pieces as I could. Like the freaking Humpty Dumpty and the King's horses and Kingsmen could not put that phone together again. Right? And I did that on purpose. A, to feel better, which I did. And then I had to go fix the problem, right? Because I'm never going to use that phone again. Right? Honestly, I knew that was going to happen. I knew this months ago. I could have just solved the problem, but no, I had to wait for the frustration to drip, right? So if somebody had got hold of me and said, hey, listen, we can deliver a new phone to you, would you be interested? I probably said, yeah. What sort of phone is it? Right? That's frustration. The next thing is struggle. So struggle is something people, as the term suggests, they struggle with. And typically people struggle with things because they don't understand it, or because they don't do it often, or just because they freaking hate it. They got a mental block. I don't want to do that, right? So like me, I struggle in what I do with graphic design, right? I can do it, but yes, it's effort, eh? It's proper effort for me. It's like if I design a one-page web page, right? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go online and I'm going to find examples I like. And then I say, oh, I like that piece from that site and that piece from that site and that piece. I like these colors. I like those fonts. I like those images. Then I'm going to try and fit that together, right? Then it's a dog's breakfast. Then I've got to fiddle and what have you. And a day later, maybe I've got a site that's okay. If I go to a graphic designer who does this for a living and I say, here's the specs, these are the colors, can you just design it for me? That page will come back in half an hour, and it will be perfect. Right? That's a struggle. So guess what? I don't want to struggle for a day. Okay? My time's too valuable. I want to pay a graphic designer for 1 hour of time to go and build what I need. So think about what are people struggling with, right? They might be struggling with, let's take medical aid. Oh my God, look at all these medical aid schemes. Which one is right for me? Where do I start? Like that's a struggle for people. You laugh, you think that's stupid. I'm telling you, people want medical aid. They know they want medical aid. It's not how much am I going to spend. They know that already. It's like, oh my God, what's the right solution? That's just an example, right? I want to invest, but I don't know where to start. You know, what are the tax implications? Like all that stuff. This hard for other people. There's stuff that's easy for you. It's hard for them. Work out what they struggle with and just solve the struggle. Right? This last one is the most important one in a sense of the frustrations because we call it obstacles. And an obstacle is a thing that if you don't solve it, you don't have a client. It's as simple as that. Right? So this is where people are looking at, you know, sorting out their financial futures, and for whatever reason they decide that they can't do it. So let me give you an example of an obstacle. So when I started my business, this was a lot earlier, right? People need to do a lot of tech stuff and they needed design stuff, right? Remember, I'm dealing with accountants and financial advisors now. So Not the sort of stuff that they wanted to do in those days. And tech wasn't easy like it is today, all right? Like you guys think you go online, you click an app. There was none of that shit. Like stuff broke. It was horrible. You integrated 6 things to make one thing work. That was a very different time. Okay, it's not like it is today. And so people would say to me, "Yeah, I don't have the skills and I don't have the time. I can't do it." Right? So I was losing clients because they looked at it and they just felt that was beyond them. So what did I do? I taught them how to outsource. Right? I built a module into my course that showed them how to outsource all the stuff that they needed to do. And in fact, I even got to a point I'd outsourced it so many times that I had the providers, and all I would do is I'd say, "Here, phone this person," or I'd phone them and say, "Speak to this accountant or this financial advisor. This is the issue they need. Here's the thing. Go." The person would just build it. Right? But in that process of teaching them, I solved the problem. Right? I solved the problem of I don't have time, and I solved the problem of I can't do it. And I taught them a skill that they were able to use in other areas of their business. So you might have to solve some obstacles, yeah. Like, you know what? I'd love to, but I just got no money at the end of the month. Okay. It's not always true for everybody. Like we know people spend on other stuff. It's like, well, do you have a budget? No. Okay, come. Let's see. Let me find out how to make that money for you. Oh, you know what? You really don't need this flipping life insurance now. You're freaking single, you don't even have a house. What are you thinking? Let's take that and put it into an investment. Come, let me show you. All right. So you need to take whatever these obstacles are that they're having and solve them. And the cool thing is if you solve an obstacle, like you've solved the massive problem. That's freaking awesome. People will love you if you solve an obstacle. Okay. So that's the frustrations. This is what gets them to the table. This question, yeah, this is the big one. Yeah, of all 6. Number 4, yeah, the fears. What keeps them awake at night? That question drives everything. Like if you can answer that, you'll be in the best position. And when I say what keeps them awake at night, pretend you're your client. Okay? Pretend you. So think all of you now, right now. Think of your favorite client. Okay? And think of when they come to you, what they said to you, what was going on. I think pretend you them now, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and you are lying in their bed with the eyes wide open, with the sweat dripping down your face. What are you thinking? That's what I mean by that. Like, what keeps them awake at night? Like, remember that stupid example I gave you? Oh, I'm going to lose the house down here. I'm going to lose the house. I won't be able to pay for the kids' education. That's the crap they're thinking, right? So, what keeps them awake at night? Solve this problem. You're off to the races. Okay, and there's different ways to do this. We'll talk about that just now. In fact, actually, let me touch on it now. Obviously you've got ChatGPT, right? But use Google as well, because ChatGPT gives you a very direct answer, but Google will give you more. So like if let's say you took your niche, let's say your niche was young professionals aged 25 to 35, right? You would type into Google or even into ChatGPT, what keeps young professionals in South Africa aged between 25 and 35 awake at night as it regards or with regards to their financial life or financial services, etc. And then see what comes back, right? Now you've given it context. ChatGPT will give you an answer, good or bad. You don't always know. But Google will give you all sorts of stuff. It will give you YouTube videos and articles and blog posts and TED Talks and surveys and studies that have been done. Like, it's amazing stuff. If you're prepared to do some grind, you will find amazing stuff, right? I know a lot of you will just use chat, so use chat, but prompt it. You'll be amazed. It will give you a lot of these answers. Then you must think to yourself, right? Okay, does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, just because ChatGPT said so doesn't mean it is so, by the way, right? But many times it is so, or it at least gets you starting to think in the right direction. Okay, so that's the pain side. The gain side, the ones you see here, I have this little arrow, the polar opposite. So many times when you say to people, what do you want? They'll typically take something that they don't want, so a frustration of sorts, and they'll just turn it around into a positive. So it's like, yeah, I'd just love to have I want to have an extra 1,000 Rand a month so I can start investing, right? as opposed to, oh, I don't have enough money at the end of the month, so I can't take out the policy. That's oftentimes all it is. But sometimes they genuinely want stuff. Hey, I want a new car. I want to get married. I need a wedding ring. I need the baller. Whatever it is, right? People will have very specific ones, right? That we can solve. And so of all of these, funny enough, this tends to be the least effective, but still, sometimes there's some gems in there. This one here, if you're on the well, both of these, this quadrant is huge. But if you are in the gain side, in other words, the moving towards pleasure side, you want to think about aspiration. So most of you, probably you're all running your own business. Inside of you, there's some aspiration that's going on, right? Because there's no way you work on commission if there isn't. Like it's just too hard, right? Or particularly when you start. Once you get there, that's a different story. But you're looking at it saying, you know what, this is my business. I'm gonna make this freaking thing work. I want to make a shit ton of money. That's probably what you were thinking, or at least what you did when you started. Whatever it is you're doing. And so think about yourselves, right? What are the aspirations you have? What is it that you want? Right, and particularly like if you're thinking about, as I said, those corporate or those professional employees or those business owners. If you think about, let's take a typical entrepreneur or a typical person with aspiration. The first thing they're thinking is, I want to make lots of money. Most of us live in that way, and that's fine. Okay, but then we start, and let's say success starts to come. Now we've got the second house, we've got another car, I've got the Rolex, I've got whatever. It's like, okay, now what? I don't, like, more stuff is like really kind of irrelevant. Maybe I'll travel, right? Then what people start to do is their thought patterns start to change, right? Because now they start thinking about security, right? Because now they've got something to lose, right? Remember, they're going to do more to protect stuff than they are to gain. So now they've got stuff to lose. So now they start thinking about themselves and their family. Let me protect that, okay? Once they've protected that, they start to think about their staff if they've got businesses. After their staff, they tend to look at their clients. After their clients, their suppliers. Right? That's typically how people tend to work and how they think. And then the last piece of the puzzle, right, is the real aspirational piece, the legacy piece. So, in your terms, a legacy might be slightly different to how I describe it, but a legacy is leaving something of value behind, and it doesn't only have to be money. You know, sometimes people are thinking of you know, maybe they've created a trust for somebody, or you know, they've created a great work of art, or they've got a program that they've created. Like I write books, for example, right? When I write a book, there's a bit of legacy in a book. One of the best things in my world is if somebody speaks to me and they say, listen, 5 years ago I read your book, changed my life. Like, you can't buy that, right? Now most of us don't have the ability of Bill and Melinda Gates, right? So most people, truth be told, never get to real true legacy status, but it doesn't mean they don't aspire. Okay, so remember, people are making decisions over here in the future, and they're making it from an emotional perspective. So if you are tapping into an aspiration of somebody and you can kind of enunciate what that aspiration is, can you see how you can actually help them to generate wealth? Because you'll be speaking to that aspiration. You then come in with your skill set, and then that is a match made in heaven. You, as a financial advisor, are going to make the money that you deserve to make, and that person is going to get what they deserve at the end without doing stupid shit and blowing their money or not planning properly. So aspiration is huge. So I know there was quite a deep piece, but I thought I would give it to you so that you've got a little bit of context. This is a lot more than most people realize, but when you look at this idea of a problem, there's a lot to it. Okay. Let me grab the screen back. Do you guys have any questions on that? Any aha moments? Okay, so let me start with you. Let's go through with everybody. Was there anything that jumped out at you there? You're on mute.
Oh yeah, I'm just having like client challenges, so I haven't really been able to concentrate. Yeah.
All right, we'll catch up with you when you watch the replay. Okay, cool.
All right.
Ger, did that make any difference to you?
Hello, yes, no, yeah, it's fine, makes sense. I like it, I followed it, it's good.
All right, cool.
Mm.
Thank you. And Tabi Singh?
So far so good. I did the one thing that that stood out for me is the fact that we are trying to make sure that we sell people based on their emotions. So you have to emotionally manipulate them for them to be able to buy into not the service, but into, you know, whatever it is that you are at that moment trying to offer them.
So just one small thing there. When I talk to you about solving a problem, like the other thing that you'll find works really well is having an attitude of serving. So I don't mind you using the word emotionally manipulate, but the end result must be good. So that's when people look at marketers and they say, oh, they're nasty people. They're nasty if they do it for the wrong reason. So if you're one of those persons that's just going to push a policy and sell any old shit just to sell it, then that's a problem. But sometimes, right, sometimes you really need to push a client. You need to do this stuff to give them that which they need. And remember, right, this is very important. Remember that your clients are ignorant in this space until you educate them. So sometimes you deal with a client and for you, it is clear as day what they need, right? But they don't know it. And sometimes you've got to do whatever it is you've got to do for them to see that light and to solve the problem. And the time is when things go pear-shaped and you put the solution in place. That's when, from that point, you have a client for life and somebody that refers like crazy. And then, of course, you've done what you're supposed to do. So, all right, cool. I like that you're starting to see the power of emotion. That's fantastic. Lucas, what about you?
Happiness. I'm following, and yeah, all good so far, so good.
What aha moments did you have from that?
The aha moment is the pain. That there's two types of people. That one's leaning to more pain and the other leaning to more pleasure. Never thought of it that way.
It's quite deep that, but you'll start to see it if you think about it with your people. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Is that so? What about you? Is that so? Are you there? Okay, he's at toilet break. Okay, cool. Let me just do the next little piece quick, because it follows on from this in terms of what I want you to do. So here's what I want guys to do, right? I want you to do a bit of an exercise and just to brainstorm this, right? So work out what the big problems are. And I'll give you some worksheets just now. If you can answer this, right, try to find out like what it. Just to start off, and you'll see here in the actual worksheet itself. I want you to come what you think the top 3 pains are and the top 3 gains, right? So like ultimately, what's the biggest problem you solve? Okay, so you're going to go back now and you're going to think about your particular niche. So when I say what's the big problem you solve, not for everybody, you picked a niche. You're going to commit to it for 6 months. That person, what's the biggest problem you solve specifically for that person? Whether it's a positive problem or a negative problem, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then you'll get to fill this in. Okay, let's take a little bit of a break. We are currently at 1:10. Let's take 15 minutes, and we'll see you guys at 1:25. Is that good? Or do you want to take less? What do you guys want to do?
Just show the previous slide again, please.
1 sec. This one.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'll save this as a PDF and just give it to all of you just now.
Okay.
So you got it. All right. Okay, so what do you guys want to do? Are you 10 minutes, 15 minutes? You happy with quarter past? I mean 25 past.
25 past is fine.
Everyone else happy? Okay.
Happiness.
All right. We'll see you soon. All right. See you just now. Okay, guys, we're all back. Anybody just give me indication? Okay, Mitch is back. Everybody else? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, cool. That's in. All right.
But
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's dive in to an interesting piece I want to share with you. So hopefully it's going to just give you a little bit of perspective. Now, this is not exhaustive, what I want to show you, but it's quite a cool way to think about problems, I suppose, right? From a different perspective. So as a typical financial advisor, what if we look at the typical South African? They're going to go through a bunch of phases, right? So the first phase is, and you'll see down here, there's obviously the phase and the age group, right? So up until they're 18, they're kids, and there's going to be certain implications for that, right? Then typically the next thing that happens is they start to move into tertiary education. So let's call that age 18 to 25. After they've achieved that, now it starts to be early career, right? We're starting to find out what's happening. Typically between ages 25 and 30, then family starts to become an issue. So typically, let's say between 30 and 40, people start having families now, which used to be a lot earlier in my generation. Growth starts to happen age 40 to 50. So that's probably the point where people are sort of at their peak in terms of their peak earning powers, etc. And then starts to become a problem. So now people start thinking about pre-retirement, typically around ages 50 to 60, and then retirement comes from 60 to 65 onwards. And then we spoke a little bit earlier about sort of legacy stuff. That's for people 65 years and older, right? So just take that in for a second. Hopefully you all know this, but you might not really have given this a whole lot of thought, right? So I'll typically find that I'm dealing, I'll give you a really, really good example. I'm dealing with a financial advisor, a young financial advisor, and I say, so what are you going to, who's your ideal client? What are you going to sell them? Oh, no, I'm going to sell investment advice to high net worth individuals, okay? And these are often people not as qualified as you. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is great. But imagine that you're a high net worth individual. You're talking to someone who clearly doesn't have the experience and the education. Are you likely to take advice from that person, right? So you want to think about this idea. Now, the reason I started with niche and not with problem/product is sometimes it's actually easier to find the niche and then based on that to find out what the problems are, and then you can solve them, right? If you do it the other way, then you sell products because you have to say, this is the product I've got, and therefore who's going to buy it? That's the toughest way to sell, as I've explained to you. So probably all of you without exception earlier when I asked you about who your ideal client is, there was an age range that you guys gave me. So this is great, right? So this is interesting because now if we turn our attention to say, all right, we're going to solve problems, and the question arises, well, what are the problems that people face in this particular stage of their life, right? So this has two implications for you. Implication one, right, is that you get to understand more fully and you get to choose to solve a particular problem that your ideal client has right now. But you also have the opportunity to solve all these other problems that will arise and that you can already foresee. And some of them you can solve now, or you can start solving now as they progress as your client. So if you have people for the full lifetime, if you say got somebody who was 20 or 23, right, and they stayed with you for 50 years or more, right, this is the outlook. You've got a lot of issues to solve for them. Okay, so let's look at that in a little bit more detail. So let's take the childhood scenario, right? 0 to 18 years. Now, obviously, you are not selling financial services to children. You won't sell them to people who have children, right? But there's issues that arise. So what's the issue? Well, obviously, the child is dependent on the parent for everything, right? Parent or guardian, as the case may be. What's a good thing that parents could do? Well, let's try to instill in children this idea that you can't just ask for stuff and it's given. No, let's teach you some good early savings habits. Let's teach you a little bit about the value of money. Let's teach you about pocket money, right? So there might be that sort of thing that parents want to do. And of course, one of the things is now they're starting to worry about it, and this definitely happens as kids and in terms of tertiary education is, okay, well, what do we do in terms of certainly covering the educational costs and of course medical aid cover, right? So those are things that are burning for people in that space. So what's your focus? So for example, one of you already said this actually, education policies, right? If those are the issues, and my target market is young parents or parents with kids between 0 and 18, I should be sending them education policies. Why? Well, because it's a freaking problem that they have, right? I should be talking to them about healthcare cover, medical aid, or hospital plan, or gap cover, whatever the case might be. Why? Because it's a problem that they have with their children. Basic financial literacy. So again, this is not something that might make you a lot of money, but it's definitely something that can get you an audience. And in many cases, all you need to do is have the ability to speak to that parent, because then you can find out what the true problems are and you can solve them, as we've been saying all morning, right? So there's an idea. So let's move up. Now we get into tertiary and early adulthood, right? So what are the key issues, right? If they studied, some people have got student loan, bursaries. They got to work it back or pay it back. Then real world starts, right? Now we get credit cards, phone contracts, maybe a gym contract, right? Now we're starting to get into some money has to change hands. Things are starting to get real and serious. And maybe we've got a first part-time job or even a full-time job, right? So for those that are not studying, they probably have a full-time job. For those that are studying, maybe a part-time or a side hustle or something like that. What's the focus, right? So now things like budget and debt management become important. My first job, I'm only earning like 7.5 or 10 or 15 grand a month. Like, it's not coming out. What am I going to do about it, right? Important. Now there's some basic stuff you got to cover, because now you're fending for yourself, right? Mom's no longer paying necessarily for your medical aid and that. Now you must sort that out. So medical becomes an issue, or a hospital plan, as the case may be. And things like building credit scores and so on and so forth, right? So again, giving you an opportunity to speak to people. So now we get past that. Now we get into early career and independence, right? Ages 25 to 30. So what are the issues? Okay, so now we've got a stable salary, hopefully. It's looking like it's worth something. Now we might be renting an apartment. Maybe we're now moving up into a different category of accommodation, etc., etc. Right? Now it might be time to buy a car, or maybe we need something else. Maybe we need a computer. So we've taken out a personal loan, right? So finance starts to become an issue because now we need stuff. Our lifestyle has grown, and we need or we want stuff, right? Remember, there's pains and gains, or we want stuff. And for a lot of you, you'll deal in the environment of black tax and things like extended family support. I mean, the poor, the people I think that have it the toughest are the moms now who are looking after kids and parents. Like, those people have the toughest job in the world. That being said, what's our long-term focus now? Right? So now looking at that, well, now we can start to get into a little bit more of long-term saving. So now there's a little bit of sense that's starting to happen. They're starting to see the money. So let's start to build you something, right? Maybe retirement annuities start to come into play, or free savings accounts, right? Bit of a focus there. Also, if you're starting to acquire assets, maybe you need to insure them. So we didn't worry about short-term insurance before, maybe we have to now. So that might be a bit of an issue. And if you're starting to work, things can go seriously wrong. How about an emergency fund? Let's try to build up something that you got 3 to 6 months. So if something drastic happens, like COVID, for example, you have a solution, right? So when I talk about the financial advisor focus, this is kind of like you can sort of use this when you're speaking to people, because there's a good chance they're in this age group that they have these issues, and there's opportunities for you to start conversations. And it's not just that you're having conversations, it's conversations about stuff that's very likely to be an issue in their lives, right? Because we want to solve problems. Let's move up. Family formation, right? So now people are thinking of, are we getting married? Am I proposing? So marriage or partnership. I'm going to live with someone. I like this person. Lobola in some instances, obviously specific to us in South Africa. Now we might want to buy a property, or at least, upgrade the property, because now, that little 1-bedroom flat, now that there's 2 of you, doesn't cut it, and oops, baby's on the way. Maybe we actually need a garden now. And then starting a family, right? So children change everything. For those of you youngsters that maybe don't have children, look at your mates that do. They will tell you nothing can prepare you for that, right? Your whole world changes. It tends to become very child focused, right? People change everything they do based on their kids. So what's your focus, right? So obviously things like life insurance and disability cover start to become more important, because now you have to worry about other people. So if something happens to you, you can't just ride it and say, it doesn't matter. No, it matters, because you just screwed up somebody else's life, right? Education funds and policies for kids. So education is obvious. Education costs crazy money today. And you have an opportunity to get people to start investing for their kids. It's kind of a nice strategy. Not too many people do it. And then you might even start thinking about estate planning, because if I've got a family, I have to worry about this stuff now. If you didn't have a will before, you definitely need one now. And if you're doing some estate planning, maybe trust that things start to make sense as well. And we get into the prime years of our lives. We have that opportunity to earn as much money as we're probably going to. So you can see they're peak earning years. Maybe there's promotions, that sort of thing going on. So now, typically now you're starting to get into that situation where, okay, now there's children and there's older and extended families. It's like, I've got kids, they're at school, they're at varsity, parents, they've got to go to an older term, I've got to pay for medical care, etc., etc. Right? Those things start to happen. And then sometimes they start to look at it and they kind of just sort of pre-retirement is like, okay, well, what if I can get rid of this bond? Wouldn't this be cool? That's when they start thinking about those things. What's the focus, right? So now you can start talking about investments, because when you're making lots of money, what do you want to do with it? You got to do something, right? If you're not going to put it in your house, don't piss it away. Let's make it work for you. Let's put it in investment, whatever that looks like, local or global. Now retirement is important, and tax efficiency becomes a thing, right? Now we're talking to people about tax efficient retirement planning. Again, you've got some tax-free savings account options and that sort of thing, and adequate insurance for whatever now, right? And it can probably be all of the risk products that you sell, and of course short-term insurance if they don't already have it. Now we get into pre-retirement, right? This is where people really start to panic. Sometimes you got to look at it and the job is not done, so we need to do some catch-up stuff, right? Let's put some more money away, otherwise you're going to work till you're 80. Right? Now they start thinking also, let's pay off the large debts, because like, geez, my income dwindles because I'm not earning an income. I can't be paying a bond and all these other things. Right? So focus starts to shift to that. And obviously you can put a plan in place to do that. And many times, just in terms of age, this is where the kids start to go to university. So we might have to worry about that if we didn't do it a little bit earlier. So what's your focus? Well, obviously retirement stuff is important, particularly projections and making sure that you're on track. Asset allocation, So again, it'll depend. This is often where you'll start to look at the policies, and maybe you'll start to move something from one policy to another, or you might need to change where the money is. People tend to become less risk averse, right? Because when you're younger, like if stuff goes pear-shaped, that's okay. When you're older, not so much, right? So you make those adjustments with people, and it often tends to make sense. And over healthcare planning, big issue, right? Because medical problems keep going up, and that's the one thing you have to have covered, right? You can live in a Zozo hut in your kid's garden, but like if you need medical attention, the Zozo hut's not going to help you. Then we get into retirement. So now obviously there's that transition period, no more salary. So now, hopefully, we did some good stuff before. Now we're getting pension or whatever annuity product we've taken out. We might have to reassess our lifestyle a little bit. So there's a great possibility, and many people do it anyway, because like we had the big house, we've now retired, the kids have moved out. It's like we don't need 4 bedrooms. Actually, a nice little 2-bedroom townhouse will do very nicely, thank you. Okay, so that sort of thing starts to happen. And now we have to actually be a little bit more careful, because now we have to be able to afford what our daily expenses. Also, it's like, okay, now that we're retired, what the hell are we going to do with ourselves, right? So you got to be able to balance it. Hopefully, you're not going to have to be one of those that sits in front of TV and just watches TV all day, right? You might want to do some stuff because you worked hard all your life. Different focus. So your focus as a financial advisor. Now you got to look at structuring of retirement annuities and incomes and pension funds, that sort of thing. The lifestyle budgeting becomes important. Right, a lot more important than it used to be. Can't do the shit you used to, right? Because the money will run out if you do. And obviously any ongoing estate planning that is necessary. Then we get the legacy years. So, you know, this is where people want to do cool stuff. Not everybody gets here, but you know, the big problem, of course, is today we can live forever. Well, almost forever. It seems like forever, right? Advancements in medical technology have done that to us. So there's a very real risk that people run out of money. Right? You're just going to outlive your money. So you need to work that stuff out. And in fact, even when you guys are doing your calculations, you know, maybe retirement age is not 55, 65, maybe it's 75 now. Legitimately, right? People are going to make those decisions. Potential healthcare risks or assisted living costs, this now becomes a real issue, right, in people's lives. And obviously, for those that have got a bit and want to create that genuine legacy, so there'll be inheritance that will obviously be assets passed to family. But many people give stuff away or make bequests to whatever educational institutions, their favorite charity, etc. So where is your focus there? So again, adjusting the annuity drawdowns could be up, could be down. You know, just keep an eye on it. Make sure that that it does what it's supposed to. Again, there might be ongoing estate and inheritance tax planning, particularly if people decide, well, they want to divest and give the assets to the kids now rather than wait till they kick the bucket. Family communication about final wishes, right? And those sorts of things. So you can see from that hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective, and built this specifically for you guys, right? When you look at your market. So we started off with our ideal client. So think about your ideal client. Where do they fit in here, right? Then you say, okay, well, here are the issues, here are the problems, and there are more, right? I just gave you a few. There's three of each. You can ask ChatGPT for more. It'll give you more. You find ones that are key that you're going to focus on, and then you work out how to focus on it. Because when you go to Momentum Cupboard, there is a solution for all of these problems I showed you. So you don't have to sell anything anymore. You do not have to sell the product. You just solve the immediate problem, the one that is burning, that keeps them awake at night. And you twist the knife, as we said a bit earlier. You talk to the emotional issues. and then you go find the product that solves that problem, and that's what you sell them. Okay. Let me pull this back. How did you guys find that? Hopefully that gave you a bit of an aha moment. Dimitri, are you still there, or are you still struggling with clients? We'll take that as struggling with clients. Gert, how about you? I don't know that makes a whole lot of difference in your life, to be honest, but maybe for some of the people on your team.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it should, but yeah, it didn't really make a big difference on my view, on my
Yeah.
bird's eye view on what I wanted. But it's fine, I learned. So it's just, I'm not complaining. Thank you.
All right, cool. Tabi Singh? Tabi Singh, are you there? Okay. Lucas?
No, I'm all good. Happiness.
So did that drop any light bulbs for you?
Yeah, for me, it's everything that I'm familiar with. As I said, I'm part of Gert's team. We focused on employee benefits, but I have a lot of clients that are homeowners. So for me, seeing that there's a specific stage where people want to pay off their bonds quicker, just to help them with the home loan protector and reviewing that.
All right. Tabi Singh's got a problem with her mic. That's okay. All right, cool. Nkata.
Hello. I just joined again. Sorry, man. What was the question?
So did you see that last presentation about the 8 stages of typical South African's life?
I haven't had a chance to go through it as yet. I don't want to lie. That one I haven't got a chance to go through it as yet.
No, but I've just presented it. I'm saying, were you online to see it? When you say you just come back.
No. I just come back now.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's leave it there then. Okay. So hopefully that has given you a little bit of a sense, right? Now the next thing I want to talk to you about is this idea of things that are critical to your clients, right? So hopefully by now, the process that you've gone through is you've identified your niche, then you move from that to work out what the problems are. And that's what your homework's going to be. What are the 3 biggest problems that your niche has? Right? And this idea of the big problems is kind of central to the client critical, because we need to find out what are they going to pay for. Right? That's the question, because your job at the end of the day is to sell. So let's talk about client criticals. So I want to show you a concept for client criticals, which will hopefully make a little bit of sense to you. I'll just illustrate with mine, but you can think about your own situation. So you'll see how there's 4 columns, right? The first column is what is the thing that's critical to them, right? The next thing, is it an increase or a decrease? Well, it depends on what the thing is. If they want more of the thing, it's an increase. If they want less of the thing, it's a decrease. So that's purely explanatory and straightforward. Here's where the cherry on top comes, right? This idea of having a metric and a timeline. So another word for metric is result. Somebody has a problem. What's the result we can give them to solve the problem? Okay, and then the timeline is how long does it take us to get the problem solved? Okay, now some of the problems take a lifetime that you deal with. That's okay. But other problems can be solved relatively quickly. Right? That's your job. That's what you are trying to do at this point in time. So let me show you a couple of examples here. So in my world, If I'm looking, right, if people are saying to me, I want to get new clients, that's the problem. That's a, well, all of you, I want new clients. I want more people to speak to. I want to get more appointments, right? So is that an increase or a decrease? Well, I say increase because you want more. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is when you are speaking to people, okay, what you want to do is you want to find a way to resonate with them. So sometimes you've got to talk to people differently. And again, this positive, negative thing will come into play. So if I'm trying to convince you, right, to let's say I want to convince you to take me on as your coach. We're going to do one-on-one coaching, right? I've got to be able to convince you in a way that gets you to give me money. So one of the things, let me tell you a story quickly before I into this. When I first started working in the sales funnel side of things, it was very new. People didn't really know what it was. And so I would do these presentations, and people would book the sales call with me, and I would explain to them, about what the sales funnel was. And then they would say to me, okay, that's cool. And they say, so what do I get? This is their question. Okay, so I'm going to give you X amount of money. What do I get for this money? Okay. Now, what I did was I told them all the features of the product that they were going to get. I would tell them, listen, what you're going to get is I'm going to build out the website for you. I'll write the sales copy. I'll create the graphics for you. I'll build out the sales funnel. We'll write the email copy. We'll set up the autoresponder. We'll hook up your payment gateway. Blah, 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 and I'm going to vomit a million things I'm going to do for you, right? Because I'm going to give you a sales funnel. And then I can see they're looking at me, and I see that it's not getting there. And then they say to me, yeah, but what do I get? Now I think, geez, you're supposed to be intelligent. I just spent 5 minutes telling you what you get. Now I must try to find a different way to say the same thing, right? Anyway, long story short, when I first started, in order for me to close a deal, would take anywhere between 3 and 5 meetings. How ridiculous is that? You met with me the first time because I already had your attention. But because I was inexperienced and I was not actually answering your question, right? I had to do this over and over. So when they said to me, listen, what do I get? They weren't asking me for all those things that they didn't care about, right? Because all that stuff I told them, yeah, actually, those are the things that make it work. But that's not really what they get. They couldn't care about it because it was my problem to do that stuff anyway. The thing that they wanted to know is what's the result I get? So if I give you X amount of money for the sales funnel, right? How much money am I going to get back? In other words, how many clients will this thing deliver and how long is it going to take? That's what they're asking, right? Everybody, anytime you sell anything to anybody, okay, doesn't matter. What's going to happen is if you say to somebody, hey, I will give you this thing if you give me that amount of money, right? What do you think goes through their mind? What's the question that they're trying to answer? It's very simple. And we all do this every single time, whether you think about it or not. The question is it worth it? That's all, right? I have this cup, right? If I try and sell you this cup, so let's say I say to you, listen, and assume you want a cup, right? You're in the market for cups. So I've got this lovely white cup here, and I happen to have 12 of them in stock. And they only cost $100. They're quite nice. You can hear them. They make a nice little sound. They're beautiful. They're easy to replace because they make a lot of these. They fit with anything. It's awesome. Yeah, I got 12 of them, $100. Do you want it? Yes or no? Right. So if I ask you that question, like if you really wanted cups, most of you would probably say, yeah, cool, deal. What if I said a different thing to you? I say, yeah, I've got 12 of these, but they're very special cups. They're the last 12. Like after these, is no more. But don't worry, you don't need more because like you can throw this thing as hard as you like against the wall, it won't break. Like this is special sand, like imported from Silicon Valley, right? These things are amazing. they'll outlast your grandchildren, and they go with everything. This is amazing, but it's like $5,000, 12 cups. That's a different question, right? Is $5,000 for 12 cups worth it, even if they last a lifetime? Some of you are thinking, I've lost my freaking mind. No way, I'm not paying that amount of money for a flippin' cup. Okay, and that's cool. That proves the point, is that you're asking yourself, is there a return on investment? Is it worth it to me? That's the question. Is it worth it? So when you speak to people and they have this massive problem, many times you've got to answer the question to them is to say, well, is it worth it? This is what they want to know. So how do we do that? So I'm going to give you an easy example, and I'll give you a more difficult example, and this will help you in terms of the way that you conceptualize what you're doing. So this is what it looks like. So let's say let's take the same example, right? I say to you, you tell me you want more clients. So I say, fine, let's coach together. Coaching program costs you $5,000 a month. You'll probably see results within 90 to 180 days. That's realistic. So now you got to think to yourself, yo, okay, let me think about this. So first 3 months, I'm not making anything. And if he says 3 months, well, let's make it 6 months. So you know what? I look at a year, and over the year, I make nothing in the first 6 months, but then I've got 2 clients a month for the next 6. So that gives me 12 clients by the end. Each client is probably worth $5,000 to me. And some of it's going to be recurring. My investment would have been 6 months at $5,000. That's only $30,000. Oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm in. Right? Hopefully that makes sense when I sort of explain that example to you like that. So as long as you can speak the language of something that resonates with your client. So remember, it's coming back to what's the problem, what's important to them, like the emotional stuff, right? So the answer to what do I get is not a LinkedIn sales funnel. Right? That is what you get, and I can tell you all the components of it. But what you get is a system that'll work for you for a lifetime, where you can generate your own leads and you never have to worry about finding me. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get at least 2 clients a month. You're going to get 5 appointments a week, right? I can say it in different ways. It's going to take you this long to build it. Simple. Now you can sit down and say, well, am I prepared to put in 3 months of effort for a lifetime, a machine that gives me a lifetime of leads? Yeah, I think that's a good trade-off. Or no, I'd rather pay $5,000 a month or $3,000 a month or $10,000 a month for leads and appointments. Or you might say, oh, if I don't have to pay the $5,000 a month for leads and appointments, geez, what a saving. Yeah, okay, this is a bonus, right? So that could have been the metric, is save $5,000 a month on paying for leads and appointments. So let me give you a completely different example. Okay? This next example, let's say that I am a psychologist. I'm like this super duper psychologist and psychiatrist all in one, and I've got this program that helps with depression. So let's say that you have a child who's 18 years old, and this kid has been suffering with crazy depression, right? So now I've got this program, costs $50,000 for the program for 6 months. That's what the program is. I've got to now sell this program to you. So like, what the hell am I going to tell you when I sell you the program for depression? Because you know that I can't cure depression. We all know this. It's not something I can just snap my finger. So how am I going to communicate to you that this is good value, right? So the first thing I've got to find the problem. Okay, so now I'm gonna have a conversation with you, which is exactly what you guys do, right? So I have a conversation, and you say to me, oh, James, story is this. My 18-year-old son, a couple of years ago, last year, he was the matric dance, and he was driving. This car jumped the red light and smashed into him, and the passenger in the front seat next to him was killed. Everyone else in the car survived, but somebody passed away, and he blames himself. He thinks it's his fault. And since that day, he's just gone into this terrible negative spiral. It's awful. He doesn't eat. He doesn't even get out of bed in the morning. I can't get him to even brush his teeth. He doesn't speak to anybody. The the atmosphere in my house is horrendous. I haven't seen my wife smile since then. It's awful. We're worried about this child. Like he's gonna die. He literally will die if he does not sort himself out. Like we are beside ourselves. We don't know what to do. Okay. So now I understand it. So now I've got some information, right? And now I can talk to you about solving your problem, right? So again, it's not just, oh, here's the program. I'm going to tell you what the program's going to do. So I'll say to you, look, we found that this program is actually amazing because within about 6 months, what happens in the first 6 months is typically we'll get people to 2 hours of productive time in the day. So what that means is that he will get up in the morning, he will shave, right? He'll put his clothes on and have breakfast, might even go and sit outside in the sun. That starts there, but he'll eventually get to a point where, you know, he'll start to interact with people again. You can even go out to a movie because that's a couple of hours. You go out for a meal, you know, and that's just the beginning, right? Once we get him to that point, then we've got a really solid base and a foundation that we can work with, and then we can take him to the next level. But the first level is really just to get those 2 hours of productivity where he gets up and he shaves and he shows an interest in the world, right? So now the question is, right, now that I've explained what you get in those terms, now as a parent, some of you need to pretend you're a parent for this. As a parent, what are you thinking? Okay, so now if you were a very cynical parent, which I know none of you are, but just to prove a stupid point, you might say, well, if I can get him to 2 hours of productivity, he can actually work in my business and get probably $500 an hour out of him. So that's 1,000 Rand a day. So that's 5 grand. That's 20 something grand a month. The cost of the thing is 50. So yeah, 2.5 months I can pay it back. Yeah, that's a bargain, right? Now, listen, let's be honest. Most parents don't think like that, right? And many times this is what we think. We think people think like this. So we give them a logical argument, but it's not the problem that we're solving, right? That's not how the parent thinks about this. How the parent thinks about this is, oh my goodness, if you can do that, right? Because now remember, we're going from where we are now to into the future. So projecting can be positive, not just negative. Now the projecting to the future is like, geez, if I could get 2 hours of productivity, and you know, we can start getting out and we can build on that. I'd probably save his life for one. I'd get my wife back. You know, we'd smile again. You know, life would be worth living. The other question is, what's that worth, right? And the answer is that's priceless. So the only question now is, do you have 50 grand or not? It's not whether it's worth the money. If I have it, if you have it, you're giving it to me because I'm going to solve this problem in a way. And when I explained the way I'm going to solve it, I explained it in a way that resonated with you. So this is your challenge when you speak to people. So if you take this lesson and you kind of incorporate it into when you're speaking to people, this will really help you. Let me give you another example. So accountants are already bad at increasing their fees. So because competition's so fierce, they keep the fees static. So many times if I'm trying to help them to increase fees, they might say, oh, like my fees are not keeping up with inflation. So why haven't increased them? Okay, so we know the client criticals want to increase fees. Okay, so now by how much? All right, well, 50% would be great. You know, that'd probably make up for the last 5 years. All right, when do you need to do it? In the next 6 months. So the inference is, if you've got a block of fees worth 100 grand a month, within 6 months, you're now making 150. Okay, that changes your business measurably. Again, same scenario. If I charge you 5 grand a month for coaching, in 6 months, that's cost you 30, and you're making 150 a month. That's paid for many times over. It's a no-brainer. Okay, you understand in terms of the way that we present it. Here's a different one. So this one here is time at the office. Okay, so this is a decrease because people want to spend less time at the office. How much less? 5 hours, 10 hours, what, a week, a month? When do you want to do it? Right. Let me tell you an interesting story about this, because this also has some interesting implications for you. These, by the way, were the client criticals that came up when I did this process, and it was specifically with accountants at the time I did this. So Accountants tell me, I find out that, okay, the big problems that we have are we want to spend less time at the office. Okay, so I said, all right, well, let me find out a little bit more. Now, if you've ever read anything to do with marketing, anybody that ever offers anything that's got to do with time says, oh, if you use this wonderful solution, you'll save so much time that you'll have, and you'll be able to take that time and spend it with your family and friends. That's what most people say, right? So I ask the accountants, I say to them, so if you had an extra 10 hours a month in your practice, what would you do with it? Accountants do not say, 90% of them anyway, the ones I interviewed, they didn't say, oh, we're going to spend it with our friends and family. No. They said, oh, actually, what we'll do is we'll put it back into the business. I said, what? Yeah. Because if I put it back in the business, it'll probably be productive time. Therefore, I can bill for it. So it'll hit my bottom line. And I'll actually have more time to spend with my clients, which I actually desperately need at the moment. I'm doing a bunch of other crap that I don't need to do. So it'll really help. So I'm going to put that time back in the business to service my clients and make more money. Now think about that just for a second, right? So we identify what the problem is. Lack of time. I'd like to get some time back. But until we speak to people, we don't really know what the implication of that is. When you find out what the implication is, then you talk to that implication and you sell your solution to that. So in this case, and even if I'm marketing to them, I would say, hey, have some coaching with me, you'll save 10 hours a month. But I don't say so that you can spend it with your friends and family. I say so that you can put it back into your business so that you can increase productive time, which will improve your cash flow and give your clients a better experience. Suddenly, I'm speaking specifically to my ideal client, right? Because I've got a problem that's very specific to them. It's not the generic crap that everybody else says. And so this is kind of where you guys want to be. Try to get yourselves into a position where you're really understanding what the problems are and just solve the damn problem. Okay, you don't need to sell anything. Solve the problem. The thing you need to sell is in the momentum cupboard. Just go get the thing you need, but just solve the problem. That's all that's happened here in an interesting way. So what do we know? We know that we solve many problems for people, but there are only a certain amount of problems that people would be prepared to pay for. So what I mean by that is if you were to take a list, right, of all the problems you solve, what you would find is that you actually have a very long list, believe it or not. Longer than you might think. But the reality is, like, clients don't really want or need all that stuff, or maybe they do, but they're not going to pay for it. So let's say you've got a list of, let's make this easy, 20 problems you solve. Right? If you approached all your clients and you said, listen, I've got these 20 problems. If I only solve this one problem, so if all I did was explain the principles of an executable valid will to you, would you pay me for that? No. Would you pay me if I actually create the will? Nah, I'd probably go online for no. I wouldn't pay you for that. Okay. Would you pay me if I helped you put a plan together so you could retire 5 years earlier? Yeah, that I'd pay for, right? Now you know there's a client critical, right? Person wants to retire early. That's how you go through this process. So not only do you want your problem. So remember, I said to you here, sorry, I know this is going back a bit far. Let's do this. Yeah, right. I want you to come up with the top 3 pains and the top 3 gains. These are the client criticals. Like, this is the stuff that they will pay money for. Okay, that's where the stuff is important. So that's what a client critical is. What will they pay money for? That's the first thing that you want to do. Okay, increase or decrease is not that important, right? But you say, okay, that's the problem they want solved. How do I solve it? What result can I give them, and when can I give it to them? Right. If you can come up with that, you're in the pound seats. Now, let me just pause and see if you guys have any questions at this point. You guys have any questions on that so far? We don't actually have too long to go today, by the way. We're just about done. I've just got one last piece to do with you.
On my side, no questions.
Okay, all good. All right. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this one last step, right? Now we need our magic message or our headline. So as you guys will see later, this is the most important piece of text on your entire LinkedIn profile, right? Because it comes up everywhere and it affects a lot of solutions. So we need to come up with that one punchy value proposition. So here is a really nifty formula for you to use. So what I would suggest all of you is just start with this formula. You might take the formula and tweak it. That's also okay. But start with this formula. Formula goes like this. If I could give you, now, what you'll notice is I'm about to ask a question. The reason I'm asking a question is because the human mind cannot avoid answering a question. If I ask you a question, you have to answer it. You know that, like, don't think of the color green. Don't think of the color green. What do you think of green? Like, your mind cannot not answer a question. It has to answer. Why? Because the human mind is designed to close loops. Like, if you're watching your favorite living TV show and then they end on a cliffhanger, guess what? You're coming back to the next episode because you want to know. That's an open loop. That's all you're doing here. So the question is, if I could give you, and the first thing is a result I know you 100% really want. In other words, if I can solve a big problem, a client critical for you, that's the first part of the question. In a specified amount of time, okay? And then what we also have an opportunity to do is to eliminate an objection, right? So the key is to say something like, while eliminating something you hate, right? Because then you say, whenever you propose something to people, then they've got an issue. Yeah, but I don't have the money. I'm going to check what my wife says. I'm not sure. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever those daddy objections are, you can eliminate it here in your message early on. So it's the biggest objection. Let's eliminate that so that we get the elephant in the room out the way. And then the last part of the question is, would you be interested? So if I could give you this thing that I know 100% you want in a specified amount of time while removing something that you don't like about it, would you be interested? It's very simple, right? 3 steps. So let's have a look at an example. So I say there it is. So if I could give you the formula, a result I know you 100% want in a specified amount of time while eliminating something you hate, would you be interested? So let's have a look at the first example. So here's mine, right? So if I could give you a minimum of 2 new clients from LinkedIn, okay, what's the time frame? So I say there every month, but I could have said every month within the next 90 to 180 days. I could have made it a bit stronger, but that works. Then you might say, yeah, but I don't want to pay for advertising. I don't want to pay for appointments. I don't do any of that shit. No, without paying for advertising, would you be interested? Okay, so I know people don't want to pay, so I put that in. Oh, okay, there's a solution. I don't have to pay. That's awesome. Here's one for management accountants. So if I could show you how I generated 13 new management consulting clients paying 10,000 Rand a month each. So if you're a management consultant, what do you want? I'd like clients that pay me 10 grand a month each. That would be awesome. Thanks. When do you want it? Within a 45-day period. But I'm not going to cold call, right? I do not do cold calling. Can't do it. No, but without cold calling, would you be interested? One more. Might be you guys. So if I could show you how to save 15% on your tax bill or save up to 15% on your tax bill, who doesn't want that? Okay, when would you like it? Or when can I do it? Well, within the next 6 months. Yeah, that'd be cool. But I'm not paying for like accountants and extra fees and shit. No, that's not going to happen. Well, without spending a fortune on accounting fees, would you be interested? Okay. See how it works. So basically what you're doing is you're solving a problem, a big problem, the biggest problem, in fact, that you can solve, that your ideal clients have, right? Who are that niche that you identified in that age group and all of those things. Solve that problem, right? Put a timeline to it if you can, right? And eliminate an objection. And you will have an amazing magic message. So your homework is going to be to do this, right? This is what I need you to come up with next week. So anytime you see this fill me in, you know you got to do it. So there's kind of two things that I need you to do here. So the first one will be this, and I'll shoot you these slides in a second. So over here, and you might have to you can do this on an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document or whatever. But list what you think are the top 3, and if you've got more than 3, feel free to list them. But what I want you to do is to list them in order of importance. So I want you to give me what the biggest pain, the second biggest pain, the third biggest pain, the biggest gain, the second biggest gain, the third biggest gain. Right? That's the first thing. And then think about all these client criticals. So I'll give you this. I'll fill this worksheet in, and then from that, this is what you want. Like this is the end goal, right? What's the magic message? What's the LinkedIn headline? Because when we have this, then we can start building stuff, right? This is the last of the strategic, more you might think this is more theoretical. After this, we get very practical, but like you got to have this stuff. When you have clarity on this, everything else is easy. Otherwise, it's a bit of a dog show to try and get it done. Okay, sorry, this other stuff. Let me get rid of this. Actually, let me just do this because I actually need that information. I'll just put your slides. Let me just do this quickly. I should actually have sorted this. So anyway, my mom actually has gone into hospital. So when I was trying to sort all this out, I suddenly found I didn't have enough time. So let me just do this quickly.
Sorry about that, man.
It's all right. Appreciate it. Always when you want it, eh? Let's just call this week to right. Let's just take that, shall we? Okay, so let's give us a second to sort this out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. Let's just make sure it does what it's supposed to. No, not that. Okay. That was all revision. There we go. Okay, so you're gonna do 3 things. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do biggest problems. You're gonna do client criticals, and you're gonna do this magic message. This is end game. If you come up with a magic message, we good. So when you build all this stuff, right? You must. Let me just upload it. What you must do is you must focus on your avatar, your ideal client. Yes. So don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You just worry about the person that you had identified as your ideal client. Okay, it's on its way now to be uploaded in just a second. And if you all have an ideal client already as a client, right? Like a really good tip with any of this marketing is if you're trying to decide something, always think about that person and pretend you're just speaking to them or you're just designing something for them. So when you do this, have that person in mind, or whoever you know that ideal client avatar is that we've created. Okay, it's in the chat. Hopefully everybody has managed to get it. Let's just see if you're all good with that. That's good. Gitmit is good. Everyone else good? Okay. All right. Awesome. Then we will see you on Thursday next week. Okay. So try to get all this done, because the week after that, so next week, we're going to start with profile. So we need to have this info, and then we get to build out the profile based on it. Remember, profile is a sales page. So like this is the info we need to make the sales. So a lot of the stuff will help you not just for this. A lot of the stuff will help you actually into the future as well. When you doing anything. So any marketing you creating, any messages you write, any time you speak to somebody, will help you to close, will help you with a lot of stuff. Which is really cool. Okay. That's all I have for today. So unless you guys have got any other questions, you're welcome to ask now. We will call it a day. Everybody good?
I think Gert wants to ask something on the chat.
Bring. Yes, we certainly can. Gert, give me what do I have an email address for you?
Oh, you can use my
Did I not put you on here?
my business email.
Oh, you are,
Should
yeah,
be
okay.
there.
All right. So let me do this. Let me end this because this is recorded. Then I'll send
Yeah.
you a quick Zoom link. Have I got your what's your wait, you can put it in the chat. Just give me your have you got a WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Yeah, just give me a WhatsApp number. I'll do it right now. So I'm as soon as this is finished, I'm starting a meeting and I'm gonna send it to you. Okay, let's grab that in case
Very cool.
I need it. And okay, let me just save that. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday. And I'll see you in 2 minutes, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Right.
thank
Bye.
you.
Just
Thank you.